What is up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. High energy, high energy. Got to get that high energy. Oh my god, oh my god. It's that. No matter how tired I might be going into the stream, that song always gets me pumped up. Yeah, I am a little tired today because today, you know, have you noticed that my video about OpenIPC hasn't released yet? Yeah. It's because, oh, hey, FAA. Oh, you guys can't see that. Hey, FAA. I got my remote ID right here. Hang on. There we go. Okay, I'm broadcasting remote ID now. Everything is fine. We're good. I definitely weigh more than 250 grams. Okay, solid. It's safe now. We're good. We're good. Everyone will know where I am at all times. Yeah. So this video about OpenIPC, the open source video system, and it's recorded and ready to go. And only one problem: the DVR file recorded by this Android app that they use as a receiver is all effed up and won't play back correctly, and nothing I can do will save it. And so I sat down and redid the whole situation. with a HDMI splitter into an HDMI capture card into OBS, and there was like I had a whole table of gear out, and it was a pain in the ass getting it all working. And I was but you know, for the quality content, you know, we got to do it. And so that's not the only reason. That's not the only reason I'm a little low energy today. But you know, we're not going to let that get us down, because I'm here to answer your questions. And I got my high energy partner Blunty, who always lifts me up. Right, Blunty? That's you. If I come in, you're the hype man. You're the ultimate hype man.
And I missed that memo.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. Blunty's going to be queuing up the questions. That's his job here. He's going to be queuing questions. In the queue, you guys are going to ask the questions here in the chat. I'm going to answer the questions. You guys are going to, hey, Discord, send me GIFs to keep me energized. Here's what I need. I need this. Yeah, this guy. Look at that guy. Ooh, I need to be like him. Yeah, I think I could learn that dance. What do you think? I don't think I could. I'm definitely not going to. Yeah, you ask the questions, I'll answer the questions. And, you know, leave super chats. Leave super chats. Hey, Super Deluxe, you remember that time it was Christmas and you left like, I don't know, it was like $500 in super chats? What was that all about? Are you rich and we don't know? Anybody remember that time? That was a good time. By the way, I gave the super chats away as prizes. I don't remember exactly whether I bought prizes for people or I just gave cash away, but there's no way I was just going to sit and keep the super chats. But that was fun. That was a fun time. That was a crazy show. It was a crazy show. I want to know who Super Deluxe really is under the mask. That's it. He's always got a mask on, and I assume there's a reason. We may never know. All right. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to answer questions. Are you going to review the new GoPro 13 Mini anytime soon? Probably not. Probably not. I know that's not the answer you were hoping for. These days, I am flying with a GoPro less and less because any footage that I need to capture, usually the DVR feed is adequate. That has a lot to do with high definition systems taking a prominent spot. Let's not say taking over, but taking a prominent spot in my lineup, that usually the high definition DVR is more than acceptable, and I'm not trying to go for any like cinematic results. The GoPro Hero 13 looks very exciting, but what's it selling for these days? You know, you put a GoPro on your drone, you smash your drone, you smash your GoPro, you're out the money. You got the Best Buy insurance and stuff. But these days, I mostly just fly without a GoPro. And if I were flying analog full time, I might feel differently about that, but I'm not. So there you go. And like, would it be a popular video? Maybe. But like, ultimately, if my heart's not in it, then it's not going to be a good video. It's going to be a half-assed phoned-in video, and I'm not going to do that. So, you want to know what I'm excited about? You want to know what I'm really excited about? Oh my goodness, I just started releasing my EdgeTX tutorial series. Oh man, that's right, EdgeTX. You guys want to learn how to program EdgeTX? Program your controller and do all that stuff? Set up your radio? Woo! And let me tell you something. Look at these numbers they're pulling in. Look at the numbers they're pulling in. 11,000 views for the first one, 5,000 for the second one, 3,000 for the third one. This is going to be a banger. This is going to really pay the bills. But I do what I'm excited about, what I'm passionate about. And if I'm not like, I'm like, it looks cool. I'm probably not going to use it. Then I'm just not going to do it. And, you know, There you go. Maybe I'll regret that decision someday when people are like, well, I'm not going to watch your content anymore. That, you know, and then I'll be like, finally, it happened. Finally, the day when they all found out that that I was a faking the whole time and I didn't know what I was doing and I was not competent to run a YouTube channel. This whole time I've just been making content, doing my best to like make content I want to make, and somehow people watch it. And you know, like if you look at like professionals like Marquez Brownlee or Linus Tech Tips, and they have like media teams who decide what content they're going to make. Do you think Marquez Brownlee or Linus Sebastian wakes up one morning and goes, I don't feel like making a video about the new Samsung phone. I'm just not feeling it today. I don't think I'll make that content. No. You know, that's why I'm a bad YouTuber. And, you know, so far, y'all haven't caught on yet. I don't know. It's more about you than me. That was not Brian Colbridge. That was not a Linus impression. That was just my, you know, nerdy YouTube creator impression. I don't have a Linus impression. FN Bobik still hasn't figured out what my secret talent is from yesterday. I don't know. Yeah, I have 350,000 subscribers. I don't know what. I don't know why. I mean, like I have some idea, but I definitely have been. There have been times in my career where I felt like I needed to grind and like I needed to make content because that's what would make my channel successful. And it sort of ebbs and flows. And there's times where I'm just like, I'm not doing that today. And I don't know. That's where I'm at today. So, yeah, that's it. That's it. Black Juggle, you nailed it. That's it. Well done, sir. Well done, sir. You got it. I gotta say thank you. That's true. I gotta say thank you to my patrons. My patrons support the weird niche project site. That's the thing. Those videos, those EdgeCX tutorial videos, are not going to get tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of views. But the people who watch them are going to be so thankful that they're going to join my Patreon. And that's actually what makes it possible to make nerdy content like that. So, Meteor 65 Pro or Air 65? Martin Cornaha. I think the Air 65. I think the Air 65 is like just overall, it's like the next generation and it's better. Anybody, let me ask you this. Does anybody disagree? Anybody in the comments, anybody in the Discord think that's way off base? Would you pick the Meteor 65 over the Air 65 and why? Put it in the comments and then we'll crowdsource the answer. Meteor 75 was not an option. That was not an option. Yeah, everyone says not a chance. Air 65 all day. Malo FPV says, I have the Radiomaster 3S radio battery for my Walksnail V1 goggles. Why does the adapter cable that the shop made have a capacitor? I don't think it does. I'm surprised if it does. What 3S radio battery? By the way, are you sure it's not a 2S? I think it's a 2S. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? What product are you even talking about? McShaky FPV, the EdgeTX videos go over programming for all EdgeTX radios, including the Pocket. There's nothing specific to the Pocket because the Pocket is just another EdgeTX radio. Currently, we haven't gotten to much cool programming because we're going over the basics. So we're going to be going over the basics for a while. What cable is he talking about? Does anyone know? Like, I doubt it has a capacitor. The goggles don't need a capacitor. That's the takeaway. Maurice, you can buy the Amprius cells. Sorry, I just saw Amprius. And I believe to get the Amprius cells, you have to go straight to Amprius. But you can buy direct from Amprius. I don't think anyone like resells them like 18650 Battery Store. Is double-sided tape still the preferred way to mount a VTX like the HD0 Freestyle V2? It's my preference for sure. I like to use a type of tape called alien tape. It is hands down the best. Hands down the best double-sided tape. It's a little thick for some applications, but it sticks and it does not let go. It is really, really strong. So it will hold on to your, even better than VHB tape. It's like VHB tape extreme. So you can get it out of Amazon. You get a lot of places, and it's pretty incredible. There are some VTXs that I would consider using screws to mount, like the O3 or the Walksnail VTXs. Some of them have lug mounts or screw hole mounts, and in some cases you might think, oh, well, that's going to be more secure than double-sided tape. In some cases it will be. Sometimes you want a little bit of give that the double-sided tape has. So yeah, I would say double-sided tape is my default. Dmitry Kutornoy, how much of a difference do goggles actually make at the higher price points? I hear people getting over 4 kilometers on the V800D. When you're talking about higher priced goggles, you want to separate the goggle from the receiver module. That's the first thing. Now, in the case of the EV800D, the receiver module and the goggle are built in. They're not discrete. You can't separate them. But on the higher-end goggles, you'll have a separate module bay for a receiver module, and you get to pick the receiver module that you want to use. SkyZone goggles will usually come with a SkyZone receiver module. Fat Shark goggles will typically come without a receiver module, and you'll put one in. A receiver module like Immersion RC Rapid Fire, TBS Fusion, SpeedyBee has a receiver module, and so on. The higher end, there's basically 2 tiers of receiver modules, okay? There's the GOAT tier, which is Rapid Fire, Fusion, the newest SkyZone, the SteadyView module. I don't know about the SpeedyBee. Can anyone confirm if, I think the SpeedyBee also does the frame combining and so forth? These modules have a more sensitive receiver chip in them, and more expensive, of course, and that means that they inherently are able to get better range out of the analog signal. Obviously, there's more to it than just using the higher sensitivity chip, but if you're using the standard RX 5808, then you have worse performance, period. Excuse me, my goodness. So any of the other modules that don't have they're not in the GOAT tier, they're generally going to get worse performance, and the EV800D is like that. The other thing you're going to have is higher gain antennas. And when you're hearing about people getting 4 kilometers off of EV800D, I mean, you should be aware that 4 kilometers is not that impressive. And especially if you've got a high-powered VTX and a high-gain antenna, 4 kilometers, people go 4 kilometers on 25 milliwatts, right? So that's good for an EV800D because, like, right out of the box on the stock antennas, which if you don't put some work into it, you probably won't get 4 kilometers off the EV800D. Whoever did get 4 kilometers out of it, good for you. That's an achievement. But that doesn't speak particularly well to the receiver in the EV800D, and you probably get better performance with one of the GOAT tier modules like the TBS Fusion, like the Rapid Fire, and the SkyZone SteadyView module. So you can get a lot done off of something like the EV800D, but there's no question that the higher end modules and the higher end goggles will give you a more stable image, a steadier image, less flickering, and will hold on to the image longer, especially when paired with high-quality antennas and a powerful VTX. The other thing is that the higher quality goggles, the more expensive goggles, will have better screens. Like, the picture will just look better, and they'll fit your face better, and so forth. Do I have to reflash my flight controller? Because my flight controller only has a high-def OSD and no standard-def OSD, because I have no OSD after flashing 4.5. I mean, what you probably did wrong is when you flashed it, I'm going to guess that you didn't select these options correctly. Here in these options, other options, Notice that we have an option here for OSD standard definition and OSD high definition. Now, those are on by default, so I don't know how you managed to get rid of them. But if you flashed and somehow you deleted the OSD options here, then your OSD wouldn't work, and you would need to go down and reflash by putting these options in. However, it's also possible some flight controllers don't have the OSD chip that lets them do... Oh my goodness, it's going to be a sneezy night. I apologize. They don't have the OSD chip that lets them do analog OSD. They were just made only to work with a high definition OSD. And if that's the case, then there's nothing you can do to make that controller support an analog OSD. What you would want to look for, is if we look at a flight controller like this one, the T-Motor F7 HD. Well, I should show you. Hang on, I should show you one that has the chip so you know what you're looking for. So the T-Motor, the SpeedDB F7 has support for analog OSD. Are we going to have an image that shows us the OSD chip? Yes, here it is. Okay, so if you look right here, do you see this chip right here? Let me zoom in. This chip right here, that chip is the analog OSD chip. If your flight controller doesn't have that chip, it probably doesn't do analog OSD. I say probably because there are a few flight controllers out there that use a different technology to make the analog OSD. They're extremely rare, and you may not encounter them. But this chip, almost all of the time, that means that's your analog OSD. So if we look at something like the T-Motor F7 HD, what you may see, let's find out, I don't know for sure, is that it doesn't have that chip. Because it's a high-def only flight controller, it doesn't have the capability to do analog OSD at all. Yeah, here's the other side. Do you see that nowhere on this flight controller is that chip? Can't do analog OSD. That's it. Okay. Well, it's either allergies or a cold. I don't know which. I'm sniffly. It's been a while since I've been sick. I remember there was a time when like a few months ago, where I was like on and off, had a cold for like a month and a half. My kids kept passing it around. And I heard people in the comments being like, why is Bardwell always sick? And I was like, F you, I have children and they are little germ factories. Anyway, it's been a minute. Okay. It's coming up on 25 after. It's about the time we start doing super chats. There are, oh, let me get this one real quick. Where can I buy the wedges for your V1 frame? I don't think you can buy spare parts for the V1 frame at all anymore. The V1 frame is discontinued. If you need spare parts for the V1 QAVS, what I would suggest you do, and I'm dead serious about this, go on AliExpress and try to find a clone of the QAVS, the Bardwell QAVS. And then you can buy the clone, because that's just the only way to get spare parts for the V1 now. Sorry. Anyway, let's get some super chats out of the way. We only have 3 super chats? Oh, man. So I'm going to read super chats until I've read all the super chats, and that's not going to take very long because there's only 3 of them. If you guys want to leave a super chat, I will. That's how you get your question answered promptly. I would like to say I read lots of non-super chat questions. If it's your first live stream and you're like, oh, look at this guy, he only reads the super chats. First of all, most live streamers only read the super chats. What's your problem? And second of all, that's not true. And even if I don't read your question, you can email me. jb@joshuabardwell.com is my email address. And everybody can email me, whether you send me a super chat or not. Doesn't really matter. Okay, what are your thoughts on cheap Amazon builds under $200? I don't know. Which I need a specific example, right? There's an AliExpress 7-inch build under $200, and it's pretty crappy, but it's probably worth $200. You know what I mean? So inexpensive. Generally, the Amazon builds are really questionable in terms of their quality. Like if I search for, let's see what we can find. Is it ARF is the keyword, almost ready to fly. I'm trying to find one of these kits. Oh my god, don't buy this. Oh my god, run far, far away from this. Queuing out DIY. Oh my god, flame wheel. Like, I'm not even sure. 5-inch FPV drone kit, $165. Wow. Oh, this is the wrong account. Hang on. Switch accounts. There we go. What the frick? Oh, it's a TMMRC. Oh, I do know this one. That's not the Johnny 5, is it? Darwin 240 Johnny 5. That's not the Darwin 2. It's not a Darwin, or if it's a TMMRC. Wow, that is a hell of a price. $169. I mean, that's tempting to buy just to see if it sucks. It might. I mean, it probably sucks, but it might be worth... What the frick? $109. For real? For real? That's really that's really impressive that you can deliver anything at that price. It has to be trash, right? F411 flight controller. That's fine. That's what I would expect. 2004 motors. The specs are okay. Where'd they cut the corners? It's got to be garbage. Let's look at the ratings. Dead on arrival. USB didn't work. Couldn't connect to Betaflight. Do not buy. No flight stack in your drone. Huh. Yeah. Very sketchy. Did that just happen, Blunty? Did someone just leave a $500 super chat, Blunty? Is that real?
I mean, I don't have any way to verify it, but...
I mean, it looks legit. What does this mean? I feel like there's a trick here. Well, I hope that's what you meant to do. All right, well, that's the end of the live stream for tonight, boys. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm tempted to use some of that to buy one of these drones and see if it's a piece of crap. Yeah, no, that's something. I really don't know what to make. Thank you. Thank you for that donation. That's incredible. Did you mean to do $5? That's Super Deluxe's other account, probably. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Well, no message to read or anything, but thank you for the donation. I don't know what to tell. If that was a mistake, you're kind of boned, because here's the thing. YouTube is going to take half of that before I see any of it. And there is no way for me to refund it. Like people have said before, hey, whoops, that was a mistake. I need you to refund that. There is no mechanism for me to refund a super chat. So like...
Let's just assume it was okay until he says it wasn't, instead of... Let's just be thankful that we got the super chat, right?
That's incredible. Appreciate the generosity. Yeah. Yeah, it's like half. Yeah, it's like half. Whoop. Anyway. That's amazing. Thank you. Okay, well. There you go. What was I saying? I've completely lost my train of thought. The cheap Amazon builds under $200. Yeah, they're probably pretty crappy. It's probably a dice roll. If you get one that works out of the box, it probably will fly okay until you crash and break it, but it's probably going to break pretty fast. Yeah. What does YouTube take? It's 30%. Creator typically receives 70%. YouTube takes 30%. It is it's normal ad revenue. I think that they take like 50%. Okay. No, Joseph Dahari says, Blunty, that was a he wants the feet pics on my OnlyFans. He's trying to get me to start my OnlyFans. And you thought it would never work. Thoughts on the HD0 AIO being SPI? So HD0 has this new all-in-one flight controller with HD0 VTX on board and ExpressLRS receiver, and the ExpressLRS receiver is SPI, not UART based, and I think that sucks. That sucks because SPI receivers need to just go die. So UART based receivers are the way to be. I'm sure there's a good reason they made it SPI based, but I'm disappointed that that's the case, because it means you can't update ExpressLRS except by flashing a new version of Betaflight, and that's a pain in the ass to tie the ExpressLRS release schedule to the Betaflight release schedule. In addition, you don't get access to all of the packet rates. In addition, you don't get Wi-Fi updating or Wi-Fi configuration. There's a whole bunch of ways that SPI receivers are inferior to UART-based ExpressLRS receivers, and I thought the industry was moving away from SPI receivers because they realized that that little dalliance was a big mistake. And now for HD0 to have done this, I assume that there's a good reason why they did it, and they couldn't have done it any other way, but I'm disappointed.
I don't think it fits.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Because you need another ESP32 chip if you're going to do a UART-based one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So and they just no way to do it. So
if
fine.
you look at the board, there's literally no...
I believe it. I
Yeah.
believe it. So let's look at the board. Well, as long as we're talking. So here's the board. And you can see there's just literally nowhere to put it, except if you resize the board somehow to get another chip on there. Here's the other side of the board, right? This is a feat of engineering that they got as much on here as they did. It's extraordinary. Got some FETs. We got all kinds of shit.
Bryce says that board is 14 layers.
Wow. That's a lot of layers.
I mean, this is really, when you say it's a feat of engineering, this is really a feat of engineering.
Yeah, it's incredible. So we live with an SPI-based receiver. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. 14 layers. Sheesh. That's really something. So the question is, what version of Betaflight does it have on it? Well, what version of ExpressLRS does it have on it? I actually have that flight control in a whoop, but I don't know how you would know what version of ELRS it is because it's just baked into Betaflight. Anyway, there you go. I mean, if it's 3.0. Like, what's the last version of Betaflight that had SPI ELRS support? If it's ELRS 3.0, that's a shame because there's new shit in 3.3, 3.4, 3.5 that we're missing out on. But, you're going to do.
It's 3.0. The SPI has not been updated since they did 3.0. Nobody's maintaining SPI.
That's depressing. That's depressing. Like, and I understand, I don't want to be too hard. I don't want to be, I don't want to, they accomplished a lot. It's an amazing feat of accomplishment that you've got this all-in-one board that weighs what it does, that has HD0 on board. That's amazing. But then, there's this little sour spot where you're like, yeah, oh, man. So, what are you going to do? There is no disadvantage to SPI receivers, says 661FPV. I disagree. SPI receivers... They don't support all of the packet rates. They don't support F1000, for example. Oh, do you need F1000? I don't. But as a racer, I'd like the lowest latency possible. No, can't have the FLRC rates. Okay, well, it's all right. I'll get away. It's fine. I'll go with 500. You don't have the ability to do Wi-Fi configuration. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass. And if I want a new version, of ExpressLRS because it's got some feature that I want, I can't have it. So, Captain Bry says, I'm maintaining it. I'm maintaining it. You would be, Captain Bry. All right. Thank you for a $25 super chat. Wow, the super chat's coming out. $25 super chat from Arcomeal. It's incredibly generous. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Hey, yeah. I don't know what to do about that $500 super chat. I feel like I'm not sure how to acknowledge that sufficiently. It's such a big super chat. I don't be like, hey, thanks for the donation anyway. Like, I feel like I should, write the guy an engraved letter. If you want to DM me, and, I'm happy to I don't know, do a call with you or something, say thank you in person. I don't know if there's something you want to talk about. It's incredible. Abraham, thank you for a $10 super chat. Skesix, revisiting the question about VTX on the flight controller, what do you think about the HD0AI05? Oh, we answered that one. Oh, that's, we just talked about that. Another fun super chat from Joseph Tahari. Thank you, Joseph, for your generosity. $20 super chat. Chubby Medic says, thank you for $10, Chubby Medic. In reference to the DJI Goggles 3 and O3 issues, is the dropout happening in full power mode only, or is it affecting low power mode? I just realized I was flying low power mode this whole time. I don't know about. Yeah, I do know that. If the MSP connection is not working, the dropouts don't happen. But then you're flying in low power mode, and you should have shitty range and performance. So, like, for example, the frame rate will be super low, the bit rate won't be the full bit rate, and there will be other ways in which your range and image quality is degraded because you're not in full power mode. But the dropout bug doesn't happen. Oh, do you know what? There was somebody in the comments who was like, oh, Bardwell and Blunty are telling people this bug is such a big deal. Meanwhile, I've flown hundreds of flights and I haven't had the bug once. Never mind the fact that that's not actually like indicative of whether other people are being affected by the bug. What if that person didn't have their VTX set up correctly and they were in low power mode the whole time and they didn't even know it? And that would cause them to not be affected by this particular bug. That would crack me up. Will Walksnail ever fix the issues with 1200 milliwatts? Thank you, Frost Dave, for the $15 super chat. Yeah, in the new GT video transmitter that has 2-watt output power. The original VTXs, I don't see them fixing the issue. The issue is that with the V1 and V2 VTXs, when you turn them up above about 700 milliwatts, then you don't actually get better range and penetration. And the guess is that the signal becomes like super noisy, like the amplifier gets overdriven or something like that. And the signal becomes super noisy. And then you just get terrible performance, even though you're cranking out more power. I'm not sure if that's true. That's just a hypothesis. But it can be observed that turning the output power on the V1 and V2 VTXs up above 700 milliwatts, which is the default maximum, turning them up to 1 watt or 1200 milliwatts doesn't really actually improve your range and penetration. At least that's my conclusion and a lot of other people's as well. So then, and are they going to fix it? I don't think so. They released a way that you could calibrate the output power a little bit. You could turn it a little bit up or a little bit down. And they gave the idea of like trimming the output power down slightly. Well, and you're not getting 1200 milliwatts, you're getting 1100 or whatever, but it didn't, I'm not convinced it really fixed things. They've released this GT video transmitter with 2 watts of output power. So presumably that one has more output power. So that would be their answer for fixing the 1200 milliwatts. Very DJI of them. V1 of the product has a bug. Do we fix it? No, we released a new product. The new product fixes the bug. Thank you, Tata Roan, for your super chat. I have this problem with my Vista. My OSD is scaled up in my Goggles V2, even though my canvas size is correct, using Betaflight 450 and configurator 10.10.0. You have the V2 goggles. Have you rooted them and installed WTFOS? If you have not rooted them and installed WTFOS, then your OSD canvas is not working like you think it should. The default V2 OSD has a very unconventional canvas. You have to basically just use trial and error to place things in your goggles, because where they appear on screen is not where they actually appear in the goggle. Oh. Yosforos apparently has hit the maximum. YouTube only lets you do $500 a day in super chats. Yosforos would like to super chat more. Yep. I'm gonna need to get a W9 over to you, Yosforos, for tax purposes. Don Smith, thank you for 20 New Zealand dollars. Duplicate Discord question. How should I go about troubleshooting an RC smoothing error? Other than rates, I'm using the factory settings, haven't changed PIDs or filtering. This is for a Flywoo Flylens 85. I'm going to guess that you're using Express LRS, and what you need to do is you need to go into the presets tab, and you need to look for the RC Link presets. I'm going to click RC Link, and you need to pick the RC Link preset that matches the packet rate that you're using. Okay? And that should fix the RC smoothing error. If your packet rate is very different from what Betaflight expects, you can get the RC smoothing error. That's my guess as to why you're getting that error and how to fix it. 7. Thank you for $14 super chat. How can I power my goggles without a battery using a Hoda D6 or AC? I want to try it with the sim and not worry about a battery. The Hoda D6 has a power supply function, doesn't it? And it outputs DC. Or just get like a 9-volt, 3-amp power supply and plug it into the goggles. Just go like... I don't know. I'm guessing as at the wattage. Yeah, I would buy something like this. Oh, universal power supply. Nice. 45 watts. Is that enough? It might not be enough. How many watts do the goggles do, like typical FPV goggles, pull? That's probably enough. I don't think they pull more than 45 watts. I bet they don't. I'll bet that's fine. I would buy something like this. It probably will work. Make damn sure you set the voltage correctly. Like, some goggles will not take more than like 12 volts. Now, most goggles today will take up to 6S, in which case you would be fine to set it to 15 volts. Okay? Set the voltage correctly. Find the tip that works and plug it in. That would be a way to do it. Okay. Chubby Medic, is the list on your website for Cinewhoops currently updated? Looking for a top-notch quad for indoor reality videos as well as one for indoor social media videos. Yeah, my recommendation hasn't changed very much. Like the Cinelog, the GEPRC Cinelog line is, I think, the Cinewhoop I recommend these days. I'm not a professional Cinewhoop pilot, but you know, I've used the Cinelogs a lot and find them to fly pretty well and be pretty durable and just generally be all around pretty awesome as a bind and fly. Thank you, Black Jungle. We got a question here from Black Jungle in the Discord. Black Jungle asks... Black Jungle asks... Hello, where's Black Jungle's question? I don't see it. Quad flies fine, turns fine, flips fine. Until it gets hit by wind, then it goes wee 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 and shakes like a leaf. Too high PIDs? That's interesting. That's interesting. Do you have video of it? Do you have video I could hear? It'd be nice to hear it, Black Jungle. Any chance? Yeah, I mean, my guess would be it's a PID related thing, like the P gain too high or a D gain problem. Oh, I see. Black Jungle's, he's got another question. So Black Jungle, my overhead camera is not working right now because I used it to out on the porch, so I don't have my overhead camera set up. So I can't show you that right now, but what you want to do is use the switch parameter in the inputs screen. Do I? For you, you know what? Hang on. Hang on. Oh, it's got the wrong lens on it, too. Oh, and there's footage on this card. I'm going to lose this footage because I'm going to forget there's footage on that card. Oh, that's how it always goes. Oh, and I'm going to bang that microphone and make a lot of noise. Oh, and do it again. Yeah. Here we go. Oh, and do it again. Wow. Sorry about that, chat. Okay. Huh, interesting. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so what Black Jungle wants is this. Boom! Here we go. So Black Jungle, here's what you want, dude. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm just going to make a throwaway model here so don't screw up my good models. And what you're going to want to do is go to the inputs screen and you're going to grab the, let's say we copy the elevator input, we go up to aileron and we drop it there. So now that we have this aileron input and it's got both aileron and elevator on it, but you can see that aileron is active and elevator is not active because the default for inputs is that the first line becomes active. So then what we're going to do is we're going to edit the aileron input and we're going to go to the switch parameter, which by default is off, and we're going to set that switch parameter to SB up. And then we're going to do the same thing for the elevator. We're going to edit that and we're going to go down and we're going to set the switch parameter to SB mid. And now what will happen is, depending on the position of the SB switch, that aileron output is going to either be aileron or elevator depending on the switch position. Okay? Now, I could also do it another way. You might say, well, hang on. You're telling me that the aileron input is being switched between aileron and elevator? I don't like that. That doesn't make sense. So hang on. How do I clear this? I wish there was an easy way to clear this out. There we go. So the other thing you could do is you could skip the inputs and go straight to the mixes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the L. This is probably what I would actually do. I would copy in the mixes, and I would drop that on channel 1. So now channel 1 is both the aileron and the elevator added together. Well, that's clearly not what I want. And I'm going to take the aileron, edit. I'm going to go find the switch parameter. There it is. It's exactly the same. SB up. Channel 1 is going to be aileron. And then here's how it's slightly different. What I need to do is I need to change the multiplex mode from add to replace, and the switch parameter to SB mid. Because the default in the mixer is that the lines add together, whereas in the input screen, only one of them becomes active. So now again, the output of the channel is either going to be elevator or aileron, depending on the switch position. That's how you do it. All right. Thanks for all the memes. Alrighty. Hope you enjoyed that. Flylens 85, there is no OSD tab in Betaflight. My guess is it was flashed without the OSD option in the build options. So go to the firmware flasher tab, go down to, can you even, I think you can even see the options. Go ahead, Blunty.
It could also just be it's off in the config tab, right?
Oh, you're right. You're right. I forget about that because I never turn it off. See? That's why I keep you around. It's only funny because it's like the idea that I would possibly not keep you around. It's just a joke. Yeah, so it could be turned off here. And if it's turned off there, you see it disappears. Yeah, check that. Because, like, I don't think it just doesn't seem likely that it was flashed without the option. You'd have to manually remove the option here in the firmware flasher tab. So, is there a way... What version of Betaflight is on here? 451. If I go to the CLI and type status, does it show what options it was flashed with? I swear I've seen a list of the options it was flashed with. Where have I seen that?
Okay, so I can tell you the way to do it. I don't think you can get it in the CLI.
How do you get it?
The way you actually do it is you type status, and then that gives you the build ID number, and then you copy that build ID number into a URL on the website, and it'll give you the build log.
I swear I've seen it though. In like, I haven't. I know what you're talking about, but I never do that. I wonder if I reflash it with like an. Hang on. Ignore the risk.
I put the link in chat so you can show people
to live dangerously. Okay.
You just tack it on the end.
What is Mars talking about? Bardwell, only like 5% of pilots want it to be this complex. KISS was ignored in every design decision possible. Who ignored design decisions? Is Betaflight or EdgeTX? Who's Mars talking about? All right. I swear I've seen this. I don't know. Damn it. I
mean, you can do status if you flash core, right? Can't you do it if you flash core, because then it shows you what's enabled? I've seen
a list of build options. Where have I seen it?
Telling you, in the build log.
I know it's there. I know it's there. but I didn't stumble across that. All right, I'm not going to waste a lot more. I'm not going to waste a lot more chat time trying to solve this. I swear.
It says it's in the setup tab, bottom right.
Aha! I knew I'd seen it. Yes! Yes! I knew I'd seen it! I'll bet it's pulling that off the website. I don't know. That's it. I knew I'd seen it. Ha! Build log. Here's the build log. Yeah, so there it is on the website. So that's interesting. They have made it possible. I was begging for this. They have made it possible to find the options. Okay. That's cool. That's nice to know. Kiss was ignored in every case possible. Who's he mad at? HTX or Betaflight? Just trying to decide.
He said ignore me.
Yeah, no, Betaflight. Only like 5% of pilots want it to be this complex. Yeah. Yep.
The thing is, this is not a paid program, so.
It's true. Well, and the other thing is, like, okay, so here's what I'll say. Do you remember when Flight 1 made it possible to do your entire configuration via a wizard in the OSD? So literally, you plug in a new flight controller, you never plug in USB at all, you power up your video transmitter, and you put your goggles on channel race 1, and the flight controller automatically finds the video transmitter, talks to the video transmitter, puts it on race 1, and then in your goggles, you see video, and you see in the on-screen display searching for your receiver. And it searches all the UARTs and finds your receiver. And then it's like, move your sticks, and it does a whole stick calibration routine, just like a simulator does. You don't have to do any manual setup. It just automatically does your channel mapping, your endpoints, everything. Aux says flip your arm switch. You flip the arm switch. Aux mode setup. That was legit. It does your motor wizard. Does everything. Automatically walks you through it. You basically at the end, you have a quadcopter that you're ready to fly. You didn't touch USB. You didn't do any manual configuration. That was legitimately groundbreakingly innovative. I would like to point out that the Immersion RC Vortex did it first years before, but nobody, it was popular in its day, but the Flight 1 putting it on a flight controller that anybody could put in a build was a big deal. It was legitimately innovative, made life easier and better, and didn't have a lot of downsides because it mostly worked. There are other times when somebody says, well, I've made it simpler. And you have made it simpler, but also you've made it more difficult because you've gotten rid of options that I want some of the time, you know? Like, I find it frustrating sometimes. Well, we're talking about, you said keep it simple. So, like, I assume you're talking about KISS. You're talking about things like KISS Ultra. You're talking things like FETTech Alpha and so forth. There are times when, like, the quadcopter won't arm, and I'm like, why won't it arm? And I look in the configurator, and nowhere in the configurator does it tell me why the quadcopter won't arm. It's just like, I don't know, good luck. You figure it out. And I'm like, well, that's simple, but it's not easier, and it's not better. So, yeah, Betaflight doesn't try to keep it simple. They don't. They try to support what they support. Lots of different hardware. And lots of different capabilities. And if you want simple, then there's other stuff out there. But there's a reason why Betaflight and iNav and ArduPilot are powerful and complicated. Because when you make things simple, you also remove functionality most of the time. And when you want a wide variety of functionality, it tends not to be simple. You know? So, there you go. And the other thing is, as Blunty pointed out, all of this development is done for free by people in their spare time. I don't know how true that is. I mean, that's the story. But, like, I don't know. Like, is there no Betaflight dev who gets paid to, I mean, there's a lot of people relying on Betaflight for a lot of things. It seems like there might be some opportunity to monetize that. It's hard for me to believe that no one is.
My understanding is the monetizing of that happened with AT Betaflight, and they got kicked out of Betaflight for doing it.
Them's principles, baby. Yeah, that's all way out of my purview to comment on. So there you go. I've rooted my Goggles V2 and even my Vista. Okay, so if you rooted them, and I assume you also installed your WTFOS MSP plugin, my guess is that your canvas size is wrong. That you think you've got the right canvas size, and your canvas size is wrong. So if you're doing WTFOS, then your correct canvas size is width of 60, height of 22. And if that's not what you've set it to, then that's why your canvas isn't right. I gotta hope that's what it is, because I'm not sure what else it could be. Could you have an old version of the plugins that doesn't support the high definition OSD? Hard to believe, but make sure you're on the latest version of WTFOS and the MSP plugin on both the video transmitter and the goggles, I guess. Thank you for a $5 super chat, Chubby Medic. Do you think leaving the MSD not selected on the VTX and manually putting the O3 in full power mode will be a workaround? No. Sort of. So, yes, turning MSP off will stop the bug that causes the O3 to drop connection and never regain it. But it will not cause the O3 to go to full performance. So, if you turn off temp protection, the O3 still is not at full performance. Okay? It'll go to full power, but it won't go to full frame rate and full bit rate or something like that. So, yeah, not to harp on it, but like the KISS expectation that you'll use a certain channel mapping. I think it's AETR. And then you just have to know that you need to set your radio to AETR. Okay, well, I don't want to. Oh, too bad. Nope. It's simple. It's so simple. You have to do it my way. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but what I am saying is that every time you add simplicity, a lot of times you also remove flexibility. And it doesn't have to be like that. There are times when things are unnecessarily complex for no reason, except that people just haven't taken the time to simplify them yet. Right? And then you simplify them and you didn't lose anything. You just removed unnecessary complexity. And that's a type of simplification we can all get behind. It just takes time to do it, and someone has to decide to do it. But there are times when simplification removes capability and locks you into a certain thing. And then, number one, if you want to do it a different way, too bad you can't. But maybe that's an okay trade-off for not having the complexity. Like, it makes life easier for some people. But also then sometimes it's like, well, you can't do the thing you want to do. Oh, so in Betaflight, you can do whatever you want to do, but also it's a pain in the ass to configure. So. Anyway, could I wire Tiny Whoop headlights and LEDs on a Happy Model X12? Happy Model X12. I mean, I guess. I'm not sure if I would. I probably. Where would you get the power? That's the thing. How much power do they draw? Probably not that much, since they're intended. Are these legit? It's just a little LED that runs off a 1S battery lead. I mean, that's cute. Yeah, do it. Why not? They're made specifically. I mean, they run straight off VBAT, so they're not going to interface with your flight controller at all. Yeah, they just run off VBAT. Do whatever you want to do. I just bound my first Express LRS receiver thanks to Uwoo and your guide. Wait, who is this Uwoo? I thought people were just... Uwoo FPV? Is this a real thing? No. Does Uwoo have an ELRS guide? No. Uwoo Weekly Recap. 4 months ago. I don't know. If there's a new person out there named Uwoo, I'd like to know about it. Thank you for the donation. I'm not sold on ELRS over Crossfire just yet, but I'm going to try it out. Hey, use what works for you. Do you know if the new TBS AM32 ESC will only fit a 20x20 on top, or can it mount a 30x30 as well? So what you're asking about is the new TBS Lucid ESC. And this ESC has a novel form factor. It is not 20x20 or 30x30. And the reason for that, I've since learned. At first I was like, what are you doing, TBS? Why would you do this? You're just trying to be different? The reason for that is that it lets them put the FETs right up against the motor pads. And that means that they can, that there's not one motor with the FETs further away, so the traces soak up more power. That's the explanation that was posited to me. Makes sense. But it means that if you want to mount this on any frame, you need this custom mounting plate. Any frame that, TBS has a frame that has mounting native for this ESC. And you can see it comes with this 20x20 mounting plate for the TBS flight controller that goes with it. But it doesn't seem to have a 30x30. Except, look. Yes, you guessed it. There's also a 30x30 mounting plate. Haha. I knew if I talked long enough, I'd find the answer. No, I'm wrong. This is a 30x30 adapter. Oh, but you could just put it on top as well, right? Can you? Go ahead.
They have an 8S ESC that does 30x30. If you feel like you really need that, that's what I would say.
So this 30x30 plate adapts the ESC to mount on a 30x30 frame. But the flight controller mounting plate only is 20x20. That seems to be my understanding. And then they have another ESC, an 8S ESC. That, here's the Lucid 8S 4-in-1 ESC. Now on this one, but they did the thing that they said they didn't want to do, which is put the FET on the other side of the mounting hole. But I thought that's the whole reason we went with the Gorilla thing, because we didn't want to do this. Now we've done it, but we also have the Gorilla mount, because I don't always understand the decisions they make sometimes. Right when I thought I was starting to understand it, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. There's a performance advantage to putting the FET next to the motor pad. Oh, well, okay, I'll buy it. And then they got the 8S ESC, and it's like, well, we decided we weren't going to do that. Once again, there's probably a reasoning behind this decision that my smooth brain cannot comprehend. Because the guys over at TBS are smart. They're smart SOBs. Smarter than me most of the time. Would this let you mount a 30x30 flight controller on top? Yeah, no, they continually show the flight controller as a 20x20. I would say that it doesn't look like the TBS Lucid system is intended to let you mount a 30x30 flight controller on top unless you go with the 8S ESC and just skip the Gorilla mount entirely. That's what it looks to me. Drums or flats? So I always just order them as they come. I never pay extra for all drums or all flats. I will say that I tend to eat the flats first. I feel like I've answered this question before. I like the flats better because I feel like the ratio of meat to skin is better. You like the crispy skin plus the meat, whereas you bite into a drum and it's like lots of meat. And I think I just kind of like the feeling of sort of stripping the meat and the skin off the bones with the flats. I'm a flat guy. If I had to pick one, I'd pick flats. Yeah. I feel like the goodness of chicken wings is in like the fried skin and the sauce. That's what I'm eating. And the meat is there to support the fried skin and the sauce if I'm eating wings. So I don't want to like fill up on meat. I don't want to eat just chicken skin. Don't get me wrong. The meat needs to be there. So, thank you for a $5 super chat, Mars, for indulging my silliness. Domi's95. Any new solution for OSD freezing on O3 and V2 goggles? I'm not aware that is a common issue, so I'm not aware that there would be a solution for that. Make sure you're on the latest version of WTFOS. Make sure you're not using soft cereal. Are you using soft cereal by chance? I don't think so. Market Zero, first of all, fantastic username. Big Lebowski reference, I assume. Well done. Fried wings are obviously superior, but they're also worse for you. So I will choose grilled wings sometimes, although mostly if I'm going out to eat wings, I'm just like, F it, let's live a little. I might just skip the wings entirely before I ordered the grilled wings. But I have ordered grilled wings before because I was just like, let's try and be a good boy today. Yeah. Okay, that's it. We're caught up on Super Chats. What a run, including a $500 Super Chat from Yosforos, who is apparently also a patron. I see them in the Discord. I am legit Yosforos. I want to say, and again, I don't want to like make you blush too much, but like my top patron level is it's less than what you basically donated right there. So I feel like you're at least entitled to that reward. If you want to DM me, we can work something out. We'll figure out some way to. I know you didn't do it because you want thank you, but it's such a big donation. I feel like it would if I just sort of blew it off, and then I wouldn't be like that wouldn't be the right thing to do. So if you're interested, feel free to DM me on Discord, and we can thank you in person. And okay, enough about that. Okay, let's get some more questions. Questions from people who don't have $500 to spend on a super chat. The poor people, the plebs, the normies. K-Trap asks, are all-in-one ESC current ratings per motor or total? Per motor, always. ESC ratings are always per motor. I went from a Cinerace 2.0, I never saw over 15 amps total, to a Babyhawk 03 seeing over 65 amps with the default scalings. The amp reading is also always total. Once upon a time, there was the ability to measure amp reading per ESC. It's not done basically at all these days, and the Betaflight amp readout that you see in the OSD is basically always the total amp of the ESC, pretty much no matter what. So why is there such a difference between the 15 amps and the 65 amps? Well, one of them, the current sensor, may have been miscalibrated. It's really common to have a miscalibrated current sensor. It's very common. So that would be my first guess. Any specific recommendations for somebody looking to get into a bind and fly FPV on a low budget? Yeah, get a tiny whoop. Or a little 3-inch like the Emax Tiny Hawk Freestyle. Okay? A 5-inch is going to be more expensive, almost certainly, if only because of the batteries. Did you hear that Carl said there was a new, cheaper HD0 goggles coming out? I did not hear that. Is that true? Can anybody verify that?
I think he basically said nothing. He said there is a cheaper goggle coming out, but there already are cheaper HD0 goggles out. Like,
well,
you know
like
what I mean?
The Emacs
it's hard to
transporter.
tell. Yeah, it's hard to understand what he really meant by that.
It's not going to be like the $500 HD0 goggle, but cheaper. Yeah. I think what it means is that HD0 is releasing a new goggle. Yeah. Interesting. Who is that other voice? Asked Emilio Chisel. Ah, you must be new here. That's Blunty. The little cricket on my shoulder, trying to be my better what's it? Better graces. No. Marcin Samotia wants to know, I'm looking for the lightest whoop for filming on a concert hall. I was thinking to get a Cinelog 2.0 with a naked GoPro, but I was recommended to fly Flylens 85 with 03. So the first question you got to ask yourself is the video from the 03 going to satisfy your needs, or do you need the higher quality image of a GoPro? There's no question in my mind that a GoPro is going to produce a better image. That's just not up for debate. The 03 can produce good images, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get a crap image from both of them. So I'm not saying that, anything that's too definitive, but some people out there would say, I have to have a GoPro. I need the better image quality, the better low light sensitivity, etc., all the things that a GoPro brings. And if that's the case, then you're going to need something like a Cinelog 2.0, like a 2-inch Cinewhoop, with a naked GoPro. If the image quality from the 03 is good enough and your focus is on the smallest and lightest build possible, then a Flylens 85 with an 03 is a pretty good choice. The Sloth says, I have astigmatism. Should I get the Integra goggle over the G2? If your astigmatism is not that bad, like I have a cylinder of less than -2, I believe. I'm not sure about my prescription. I'm not going to pull it up. Is it minor astigmatism? I don't know. What's the scale of astigmatism? Let me look. I'm going to look it up. I changed my mind. I'm going to go to Zenny Optical, which is where I order glasses from. This is not a plug for Zenny Optical, but if you still pay $250 to buy glasses from some store you walk into, stop. Zenny Optical. You order lenses, you order frames. It's cheaper. It's amazing. I buy glasses there. Compared to every walk-in place, it's like half as much. So I'm going to try and look up my prescription. So, geez, my prescription is from 2018. Maybe I should go get an eye checkup. Wow. Okay. Never mind. So my cylinder is -1 in my right eye and -0.25 in my left eye. So to me, that seems like not that much, especially in the left eye. And I find that I can just use the default focus adjustment in the G2 with no problem. Like the astigmatism is not that big a deal that I can't sort of see around it. If you feel like you're going to need custom lenses, then either the G2 or the Integra will work because both of them can take custom lenses. It's just the G2 also has built-in focus adjustment. I think I would get the G2 and see if the built-in focus adjustment worked for me. However, that depends on how bad your astigmatism is. I'm getting ready to purchase the Luminaire QAV S2 beginner build. It recommends batteries either 6S1300 or 6S1500. What do you recommend? Especially if you want to carry a GoPro, I would get the 1300 and save a little bit of weight. If you're not carrying a GoPro, I might get the 1500, but I probably would still get the 1300. To my mind, a 6S 1500 is a little bit chonky for a 5-inch freestyle build, but a lot of people out there would disagree with me and would appreciate the longer flight time from the 1500. But that's my answer. Can I get my footage out of the O3 Air Unit and the Integra both via phone through USB connection? I mean, the goggles, you plug into the DJI Fly app, and I'm pretty sure you can download footage. The O3, I guess you could plug in USB to your phone and it would show up as a removable drive and you could offload the footage. So I think the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes, you can do both. Whoa. Oh man, Blunty, is it time for this rant again? Let's do this. We're going to go to the Joshua Bardwell Livestream Clips channel. In case you don't know, my Livestream Clips channel has highlights from all of my live streams. Blunty clips up the live streams, cuts out the highlights, posts them here. If you ever don't get to watch my whole live stream, you can check this out and you can find the highlights. And it's also helpful because only 2.4 thousand views on this. I think it'd be higher. It's also helpful because I can find rants. Like this one. I designed a 5-inch 3D printed frame. Why isn't this popular and the best thing? We're not going to watch the whole 8-minute rant. But Brandon Weber, thanks for a $5 super chat. I've designed a 5-inch frame to be 3D printed. You've wasted your time and ruined your life. This was a huge mistake, and now you've admitted it in public. I've always wondered why this isn't done. Well, you're about to find out. Other than the obvious, is there a reason this wouldn't work? Oh. So, Brandon, let me start by not being a hater. Okay. So, there's all kinds of reasons why 3D printed frames don't work. And I would like to refer you to this video rather than, play the classics, play Freebird, rant about 3D printed frames. I'm going to refer you to this video. But the short version is that they tend to have bad resonance capabilities. If they are designed to be stiff and stiff enough that they don't have bad resonance problems, then they tend to be complicated to assemble, complicated to build. They have poor durability. And somewhere out there, there's a frame made out of carbon fiber nylon, PAHT-CF, and it is all engineered to be super strong, and it doesn't matter. Here's what doesn't matter. If you design the best 3D printed frame you can, it will break. Okay? Because everything breaks when you smash it into the ground repeatedly at 70 miles an hour. Carbon fiber breaks, metal breaks, 3D printed nylon breaks. So if you design the best 3D printed frame you can, when it breaks, it's going to be a pain in the ass to repair. Because carbon fiber sheet, you just take the arm out, you put a new arm in, you put the motor on, you're good to go. But the way to make a really good 3D printed frame is to make it kind of like in one piece, where so the 3D printing plays to its strengths. And then it's difficult to repair, difficult to maintain. It takes a long time to print. What people usually do is they just print a 3D printed version of a carbon fiber frame, and that is an absolute non-starter in terms of durability, in terms of stiffness, resonance, etc. Quite often they just go and fly to the moon. They don't even fly. So, you want to hear me rant and rip into this guy? You can. There's the video right there. It's fun. If you're doing it because it's fun and you like the challenge, more power to you. But understand you're making something that's definitively worse than what already exists. If you're doing it because you're prototyping and you want to test fit, lots of people I know 3D print their carbon fiber designs in plastic first so that they can do a test fit, and but they don't fly it because that's just a bad idea. Black Jungle. Why are you like this, Black Jungle? Black Jungle, why? Were you sent to test me? I think and the thing is, Black Jungle, you're such you seem like a really sweet person. You seem really sincere. You never let the fact that I rip on you constantly get to you. You always have a smile, and you genuinely know what you're doing. I've seen some of the projects you've worked on, and you genuinely know what you're doing. And so I just don't understand why you do things like this. And I assume you're specifically trying to upset me. But you seem like such a nice person. It seems very out of character that you would just make it your life's work to make me grind my teeth by showing me things like this. That is an SP Racing. That's an SP Racing brushed flight controller. Probably running clean flight with a Spectrum receiver, Spectrum satellite receiver. That was actually state of the art back in the day. With some brushed motors and a little frickin' 3D printed plate frame with not a single bit of truss work to stiffen it up, just flap it in the wind. That's actually a pretty cool build, man. That's a pretty, you get a little bit of truss work to stiffen up those 3D prints, but that's actually a legitimately cool build, dude. Oh. Bad for Life says, the arms only block 50% of the thrust. Oh my goodness. Thrash FPV says, I had the wrong LEDs. Tiny Whoop headlight kit. I don't know. I searched for Tiny Whoop headlight, and that's what I found. What are you looking for? Store LEDs. Oh, shut up. Whoop wire. Well, that's not it. 4 LED harness? Is that what you're asking for? The 4 LED harness? Wired directly to 1S main power. That's what you're talking about? Oh my goodness, Tiny Whoop headlight blinders. Is this it? 1S. It wires straight to 1S. I don't know. It seems like they all wire straight to 1S. In which case you can put it on any quadcopter you want, because it wires to 1S. It's not interfacing with the flight controller at all. Oh no, I closed the wrong window. Let me fix that. Oh, Abraham, thank you. That's what I want to see. Black Jungle. Black Jungle. I want you to look at this. Do you see what Aber has done here? No, no! No, they're acrylic arms! Aber, why would you do this? You tricked me! Aber, you are in timeout. Black Jungle is the new favorite child. I was about to say... Look, this is what this is what it should look like. Look how neat this build is. Never mind that he braided the motor wires, which is kind of pointless, but, you know, look at the care and attention taken in this build. Ah, it's acrylic arms! You guys are both in timeout. Aber the Ham and Black Jungle, both in timeout. Go to your rooms and think about what you've done. Oh my goodness. All right. Oh, got a $5 super chat from Jake who says, I have the Mobula 8 DJI 03. Thanks for all your videos. I just flew it for the first time. Awesome. Congratulations, man. Cody Lambert says, thank you for $5 Canadian, Cody. I accidentally bought the GEP RC G4 all-in-one flight controller. Weird standoff size, printed adapter. Could I use that for 5-inch long range? I'm worried about the motor pad size. GEP RC 4 AIO flight controller. G4 AIO, let's see. The Taker G4. Weird standoff size. You mean it's a 25 millimeter? Yeah, it's not made for, it's not 30 millimeters, it's 25 millimeters. It's made for, well, smaller frames. It's 45 amps. You probably could run a 5-inch on it. Yeah, you probably could. It probably wouldn't explode immediately. That's not how it's usually done. I would want to make the 5-inch as light as I could. And using a flight controller like this would get you started that direction. But I probably wouldn't just slap this in any old 5-inch freestyle frame. Because number one, it doesn't have 25 millimeter mounting, probably. So, yeah, I would put this in like a 3.5 inch. You could put it in a 5-inch, but it's not optimally suited for that. QWERTIAN1234, thank you for a $5 super chat. I'm new to FPV and have a quick question. What wattage does the Caddx Walksnail Goggles L require? What wattage? How many watts do they pull? I don't know. Like... 2S to 6S, we know that. That's the input voltage. How many watts do they pull? All right, well, for a $5 super chat, I'll answer the question. And I'm going to do that by... Yeah, okay. I got this. Hold on. We'll just go over to my bench power supply. And we will see. 1 second. 9 volts? Nah. Let's give them 18 volts. Now, that's a little bit cheating because they're not bound to a drone, so they may not be at full power. But I can tell you, you know, right now they're at 5 watts. I'm not going to take the time to bind them. 7 watts. I just said, oh no, actually, I take that back. Walk-style goggles are always at full power, even when you're on the bench. Haha! That will finally work in our favor. Well, so they're set to 25 milliwatts, and I can't change that without binding them. I'm not going to do that. They're pulling 7 watts at 25 milliwatts output power. So, like, I feel like you would be absolutely safe if you budgeted 15 watts, maybe 20 watts. I don't know why you want that information, but there you go. I think if you were to budget 20 watts, you'd be okay. Will Cole, thank you for a $10 super chat. The TX16S and the goggles arrive tomorrow. I'm wondering if I can use a DJI Goggles 2 battery with the HD0 goggles. No, the DJI batteries only work with DJI goggles. Lame. There you go. That's lame. But it's how it is. What happened with the smudge on the lens you had on your Skyo 4X Pro you had for review? Did you send it back? I got one like that too. It's not a smudge, it's a piece of dust inside the optics. Nope, I just live with it. There's a little piece of dust inside the optics on my Skyo 4X. This is what it is. I don't notice it most of the time. It's when I do notice it, it annoys me. That's what it is though. Hey, Ciati. Nope, not this one. Ah, what the hell? We'll do this one. Hey, Ciati, what's a good replacement video transmitter for my Beta FPV 85X HD Whoop? We're going to give Ciati some airtime. Ciati knows way more about micro drones than I do. Some would say he specializes in micro drones. Some would call him the Micro King, especially his wife. Am I right? Oh, I'm sure he never gets tired of that joke. I sure don't get tired of making it. TBS Pro 32 Nano is the most popular. Well, sure. If you're made of money. What KV should I go with on my 1604 motors? I have a 312 gram 3.5-inch build. I have a number in mind. Wait, you didn't tell us your battery voltage. Ciati, what KV for 1604 motors on, let's assume, a 4S battery? Stop reminiscing about your beautiful girlfriend. He's just talking about how amazing his partner is. We know you're in love. Answer my question. Max KV possible, then motor limit in the PIDs tab. Ciati, you're in timeout with Aber and Black Jungle now. Ciati is on the buy high KV motors and then use motor output limiting to lower the KV wherever you want it train. And I think that's... He says none of the micro motors are a high enough KV. 1604 isn't micro. I'd say 35 to 3800 kV. Oh, the main problem with micro motors is they're all too low of a kV. Why do you hate your batteries? 1604 is a 3 to 3.5 inch motor. Agree. That's what he's going for. All right. Ciati's advice is get the highest KV you can in that motor size. And then if it's too high of a KV, use the motor output limit in Betaflight PID tuning tab to lower the KV. That's not terrible advice. But sometimes, especially if you're using 6S batteries, which I don't think you should, but if you're using 6S batteries, your very first flight, you'll just fry the ESC because your motor kV is too high. I feel like somewhere between 3,500 and 4,000 is like the good usable range, with 3,800 being like a middle-y sweet spot. But you could take all that information. I said he knows more than me, so I don't know why I'm disagreeing with him. I just like to argue, I guess. All else being equal, will a 1002 motor at 22,000 kV be faster or slower than an 0802 motor at 22,000 kV? That's a very interesting question. The answer to that question depends on too many factors to answer. Like, you didn't tell us what prop you're using. So, you're probably using like a 65 millimeter wheelbase. So, that's my guess. But a larger motor will make more torque than a smaller motor in general. And so, if the prop is large and the quadcopter is heavy, then the smaller motor will not make enough torque to max out the RPM, and the quad will have a lower top speed. But if the prop is smaller and the quad is lighter, then the smaller motor will have enough torque to max out the prop, and the larger motor will add additional weight, which may slow the quadcopter down. In general, I would say the larger motor at the same kV will have more torque and therefore will tend to reach a higher RPM and go faster, but that's just a guess. I definitely didn't find that to be true. When I went from like 22,000 kV to like 35,000 kV motors, my runtime definitely got shorter, Ciati. I don't know, that was for racing though, not freestyle. So maybe that's a different proposition than you're talking about.
If your motors are going faster, you use more wattage. It's not that hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're either limiting down to the same number, or you're using more, and then you're going to burn more battery because you're using more wattage because you're using a higher throttle over the average of the flight, right? It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that math there. It's easy math.
Yeah, he's talking about freestyle, where you're like cruising and then doing throttle blips. And he says in freestyle, you're going to end up with about the same flight time. But for racing, you're constantly trying to go faster, and so you're pushing harder with a higher kV. Black Jungle is correct that the larger 1002 motor is going to draw more current than the 0802 motor at the same kV for the same RPM. So your flight time is going to be shorter and your batteries are going to get hurt worse. So you could argue that 1002 motor is going to make more torque, but if your battery can't keep up with the current pulled by the motor, you actually will get lower RPM because the voltage will sag. So answering the question of which motor is going to give you higher RPM and higher top speed, it's actually, there's a lot of variables. There's the prop size, right? There's the prop pitch. There's the battery C rating, right? The larger motor might make you go faster if your battery could handle the amp draw, but if your battery can't handle the amp draw, then it won't go faster. There's a lot of variables. Do you think the Goggles 3 from DJI will have the same compatibility as the G2 and Integra with air units? No, I don't. I'm not sure about that. But if I had to gamble, if I was a gambling man, I would say that the G2 and Integra will have compatibility with the Vista generation, and the G3 will not. I would feel fairly confident in that assertion, that the G3 will never get compatibility with the Vista. What's the best way to calibrate the current sensor? We're talking about current sensor calibration earlier. Fully charge your battery on the charger. Go fly for 5 minutes or so. Look in your OSD at how many milliamp hours the OSD says you discharged. Come back in, charge the battery up again. Look at in your charger how many milliamp hours the charger says you put back into the battery. Now you have two numbers. You have the charger, which is the actual number because presumably the charger is accurate, and you have the OSD. And if those two numbers are not the same, adjust your current scale to make them the same. So take the ratio of those two numbers and adjust your current scale by that amount. Robin Johnson wants to know about soldering to the Raceflight Revolt. I can't help you with that. The Raceflight Revolt is... it was an oddball flight controller at the time it came out. It had special instructions because it tried to do things differently. It is more than obsolete, and I don't know the first thing about it. So unfortunately, I can't help you. The Raceflight Revolt, was it an all-in-one? Was it an all-in? The Raceflight Revolt isn't an all-in-one. You don't solder your ESC power to the Raceflight Revolt. It doesn't take VBAT. I mean, it might take VBAT, but you don't solder your ESC to it. Good times. Super secret gyro. Frickin' hated these guys. I frickin' hated these guys. I mean, super secret gyro. It's the super secret gyro. Oh, super secret gyro. We bought a chip from the same vendors that everybody else does. We called it the super secret gyro, just to be different. Anybody know what gyro it was? Did they like etch off the... It's not like they invented something that didn't exist before. There's a Winbond flash chip. Where's the gyro? There's the F405. Is that the gyro there in the center of the board? I don't know. Turns out that's the worst place to put the gyro. In fact, if I remember correctly, they released a video talking about why they put their gyro in the center of the board. Because that's the best place to put it, because that's where all the vibrations cancel out or something. And then there's a data sheet from the manufacturer of the gyro chip that's like, yeah, don't put it in the center of the board. That's a terrible idea. So, like, I don't know who's right, but I'm going to go with the manufacturer. Super secret gyro marketing BS. Oh, really? What? You guys, apparently there's something called Rasafligda. I think it's a Swedish word. And that makes sense. David Windestål's a Swede, and he flies. So I think maybe David Windestål invented this. It's called Rasfligda. Well, anyway, there's this new flight controller, and it just dropped like literally an hour ago. It's got lots of kilohertzes. It's got 32 kilohertzes, which is more kilohertzes than anybody's had before. I think that's a kind of pickled fish. Is it kilohertz? So you can go buy it. I just bought one. I'm hoping that when it gets here, it's delicious. I've had Swedish fish before. They're pretty good. They're red. This controller is red. That red is the fastest color. And it's an F4, which is one more than an F3, and I think we can all agree that that's good. And it has a secret gyro. So you could have a gyro, and then you can have some Swedish fish with your Rasaflicht. Rasaflicht. Yeah, that's how you say it. All right, anyway, check it out. Bye. You guys are... I saw this, and I was like, what the frick frick was I doing? Was I plugging? Was I shilling? How did I say it has a super secret gyro with a straight face? Was I really shilling this so many years ago? And I clicked on it because I was like, oh my God, if I promoted this with a straight face, I'm going to just want to go back in time and kick myself in the nuts. I was going to private this video because I was like, whoa, how embarrassing for me. But it turns out Joshua in the past was just as much of a cynical asshole as Joshua in the present. All of you guys who are like, I remember when you were nice. You've gotten jaded and you're mean now. Nope, I was always like this. And there's your proof. If anything, I'm less jaded now. I don't want to piss anybody off, and I'm not going to make that video. That was hilarious. Wow, what a treat. What a treat that was. Oh my God. Even way back then, I thought this was a bunch of bullshit. Super secret gyro. Super secret gyro. Shut the fuck up. Alrighty. Oh. My goodness. Okay. Thank you, Will Cole, for a $10 super chat. Since I've heard the HD0 battery drains fast, could I get away with using a power bank until I splurge on multiple batteries and chargers? For your batteries? For your goggles? Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. But like, the HD0 goggles are going to drain a 6S 25, they're going to drain a power bank just as fast. Like a power bank is 10,000 milliamp hours, but it's only at like 1S. So it's not actually that many watt hours. Just use your flight batteries, in my opinion. If anyone knows what their super secret gyro actually was, I guarantee it's just another ICM gyro that nobody else was using. Like, I guarantee it. I don't know what it was. No one knows. Yeah, too bad Raceflight isn't around anymore. And I say too bad with all irony. Too bad as in, like, thank God it's dead and gone and everyone figured out what assholes they were and scammers and liars. Ooh. All of these statements are opinions and do not represent libel in any state in the United States. You could say someone's an asshole. If you call them a liar, I think that's on the edge. Like, I haven't said a specific lie that they said, so I don't think you get sued for that. Just calling them liars. I'll definitely call them scammers. We got the receipts for that. Anyway. Oh, that's all in the past. Is there any reason that making a BT 3.0 to XT30 adapter is a bad idea? To go from a BT battery to an XT30 quad, chances are the BT battery is too small. And is it gonna, if the quad has an XT30, it wants a fair amount of current. And the BT battery probably can't provide it. On the flip side, if you have a battery that has an XT30 and a quad that wants a BT, chances are the battery is so heavy the quad can't lift it. Oh, BT 3.0? Oh, not BT 2.0. Oh, it's BT 3.0. Thank you, Black Jungle. Sorry, my head, it was BT 2.0. You're talking about the new 3S connector.
2S connector.
2S connector. Oh, I stand by my statement. I guess there's 2S XT30 batteries out there. Still, like, what's the amp rating? 20 amps. Well, BT 3.0 is 30 amps. I mean, XT30 is 30 amps. Maybe. I would want to make sure that the amps that were going to be pulled were sufficiently low that the BT could handle it. Because the XT30 has a higher amp rating. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that you're going to lose a little bit of extra power to the connectors. But it's probably like not a deal breaker for you, I would guess. Why are you doing it though? Do you have a quad with an XT30? And you got a bunch of... Where are you even getting BT 3.0 batteries? They're pretty rare. Okay. To ditch the double 1S batteries. That's fair. So now you've got a Tiny Hawk Freestyle with an XT30 on it. Why don't you just use XT30 batteries? That's better. RC Nova, I know XT30s in real life can do more than 30 amps, but that's the official amp rating. And the BT 3.0 can probably do more than 20 amps, but that's the official amp rating. Underdog FPV says, now that the DJI ban mania has died down a bit with it failing in the Senate, do you think they will get an O4 air unit to use with the Goggles 3 soon? I wouldn't. I think you're speaking too soon. Blunty, do you know? I'm putting you on the spot there. Like, has the Senate and Defense Authorization Act actually passed the House? Or I don't think it has.
Okay, hold on. Wait. So it's the House and the Senate, right? Or the two different places?
I'm sorry, the Senate. The House passed it, and then it went to the Senate,
House,
right?
The House passed it. The Senate did not include it in the main bill, but Rick Scott is trying to push an amendment for it. My understanding from Vic Moss making a post a week ago said Rick Scott did not get it into the final. They will not be voting on the final for like 4 months, from my understanding. But my understanding is it did not make it into the final. I'm trying to verify that because I can't even find that post from Vic Moss. Somebody sent it to me in a screenshot.
Okay. So the Senate has approved the final language of their version of the bill, and it doesn't include the DJI ban. That is meaningful. We still have reconciliation, though, right?
Yes, but if it's not in either bill, there's no reconciliation. Like, if it's not
but
in... I think there has to be
in
some
the House
form
bill.
of... Right, but I think it has to be... I think there has to be some form of it in the Senate bill, but maybe I could be wrong. I don't think things are only in one bill get reconciled to either bill, but maybe that's incorrect.
Well, I don't know. You probably know more than I do. I thought that reconciliation meant any differences between the two bills had to be reconciled. And so, like, if it was in... And I don't know. But I worry that if it's in the House version and not the Senate version, then we're not out of the... Well, like, if it was in both versions, we'd be screwed. Because they would both be like, yeah, let's do this thing. And then that would be it. If it's in the House version but not the Senate version, then we're still not out of the water or out of the woods, because when it comes to reconciliation, they'll have to decide what to do, and the House will be like, put it in. And then somebody may go, well, okay, let's do it. My
understanding is, but the Senate has already said no because it's not in, so then it doesn't get in because the Senate says no, the House says yes, so it doesn't go. But that could be incorrect.
So the Senate just wins?
I don't know. No, the people who are not introducing a new thing win. That's my understanding, but that could be incorrect. My understanding is language has to be in both to get it reconciled together, but that may be completely incorrect. I'm not working on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. Well, your half-assed guess is probably better than mine, because mine is based on very little. Yours is based on something. So that is sounds like then the chances of a DJI ban are lower than they were, 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's the CCP Drones Act. The other act,
Drones for first responders.
First responders is not even pitched yet. Like, that's just the process of getting added. So that's a totally separate thing. My thing with the reconciliation is just that, like, if they decided not to add it, even though there was an amendment pushed in the Senate, then what is the reconciliation going to look like when they go? The House says we want it, the Senate goes we don't want it. Well, cool. Like, unless somebody's wheeling and dealing something that they didn't decide to wheel and deal already, you know what I mean? Then it's just not going to get in because
I don't really know how reconciliation works. Like, the House says we want it, the Senate says we don't want it. Right.
Yeah.
If someone cares enough to put their foot down, then they could just be like, well, we're not going to pass this bill until you figure out how to make us happy.
Sure.
I don't know if they would do that over this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's just Stefanik that's pushing that.
Yeah, well, screw her. Okay. Well, that's good. Sounds like the DJI ban may not go through. This particular one today, right now.
Again, I have not verified that, but Vic Moss did say that. I just don't know if it's 100%.
Should we talk about that on the news tomorrow?
Oh, I'm trying to source it. I'm trying to get the screenshot because I can't find the screenshot.
Can we just ask Vic Moss directly? I'm sure you thought of that. Yeah. I'll message him. Hey, Vic, did you say this thing? Anyway, great. That's exciting. What was his actual question? I missed his actual question. Does the 04 coming soon? Yeah, probably. I don't know.
I think the thing you were trying to say is that nothing the U.S. is doing is going to have any bearing on a DIY 04 air unit.
Well, I mean, if the DJI ban went through, but the 04 will probably release before that happens.
Doesn't apply to the 04. We've already had this conversation, right? The only thing that would apply is that they would have to do an FCC ban and then not approve anything new.
Oh, but the 04 is already approved. Yes.
Well, the 04 is approved through the Avata too, but presumably it could be glomped onto that. But.
Yeah. All right. Guess what? It's 10 o'clock, and we've already taken 1 minute of time away from Ciati FPV. Ciati FPV is streaming over on his channel. He's sick. So go hang out with him and get sick. No, wait, you can't do that over the internet. It's safe. Ciati is sick, and he's going to be just friendsing and talking about batteries. Ciati, why are you streaming, man? You're sick. Go just rest. He's a sick person. God bless you. That's going to do it, guys. Thank you for all the questions. Rivey, looking for a good 3D printer. Noozle 3D, Noozle 3D.com. Reach out to them, and they could sort you out. Noozle 3D. Bye, everybody.